Hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. Today, I'm going to talk about beyond authoring platforms. You've found your authoring platform, now what? My name is Miral Sattar. I'm the founder and CEO of BiblioCrunch, and that's my information. So I'm just going to talk about about my journey so far in publishing. So I'm an engineer by background. I was an engineer for 7 years, old school, back in the days when people still programmed in Java. And then I did my master's in digital publishing, and then I worked at Time, which was an exciting place to work several years ago because there was this huge digital transition going on where a lot of the print magazines were converting to digital, and I had an opportunity to work on that. And last year, I was actually talking to my husband. We were talking about how I wanted to move out of the country because it felt like everything that had been invented had already been invented. There was a social media site for everything. And I was like, there's nothing to launch anymore. There's nothing to do here anymore. Let's move to India or let's move to South Africa. Let's just kind of work on something more exciting. And then that's when I discovered the world of ebooks. And at Time, I noticed that people were buying books based on breaking news events. And as these events were unfolding, people were just rushing to buy books. And so I pitched a project, and we worked on actually creating prototypes for these books. And the tools, back then, there weren't really any tools. It was kind of kludgy. And I thought, wow, this is the space that I want to work in because the book publishing industry is the last to go digital, and it's kind of the most exciting. So that's when I left Time to launch BiblioCrunch. And just a quick tagline, we launched as a tools platform last year, and now there's several others. They're all presenting at the conference today. But now we're a marketplace that helps authors and publishers find talent to help them create quality books. So the publishing industry has changed drastically in the last 5 years especially. Before, you needed gatekeepers to actually get your content out into the world and into readers' hands. Now you have a whole spectrum. You have everyone from do-it-yourself authors who do everything themselves to traditional publishers. Previously, people that you didn't have access to before, professional editors, conversion folks, cover designers, workflow consultants, proofers, they all had to go through a publisher, but now these people are accessible to everybody. So, but the one theme that we keep on running into with some of our authors is no matter what authoring platform you use, additional work always needs to be done to the book. In addition to writing it, it needs to be edited well. There's no excuse for not having a good edited book. You need to have a great eye-catching cover. It needs to be priced for your market. It needs to be formatted well. It needs to be converted correctly. You don't want to run into a situation like J.K. Rowling's book where it didn't resize the text. You decide if you want to build an app for your book and not just reflowing the content, but actually creating a companion app. It needs to be fact-checked and proofed. You decide if you want to have enhanced features. You need to have a marketing strategy, distribution strategy, and maybe rewrite it again if you have to. So after you find your authoring platform, what can you do to engage your readers? And one thing that we've learned from a lot of our authors is they've really leveraged community to create the best books possible. So just some of the case studies that I kind of thought were most interesting. In today's connected world, there's no excuse not to have a well-edited book. There's personal networks, there's editorial groups, there's my site, BiblioCrunch, there's social media platforms. Former techie turned novelist Joanna Penn actually found her editor through Twitter. Authors and publishers are now crowdsourcing. It makes fans part of the process. Penguin Books held a competition for the cover of best-selling author John Green's book, An Abundance of Catherines, and the person who actually won the cover contest was a 17-year-old. And John Green said he wanted it to look good in print, it has to look good blown up, it has to look good on a screen, and it had to look good on a 1-inch tall thumbnail. Also, the way authors are engaging their audiences, they're able to test their concepts by engaging beta readers to see if they have potential readers. Beta readers will read with a critical eye prior to release to the general public. The most common beta reading community is fan fiction writers, and it's growing popularity with novelists. And 50 Shades of Grey actually was a fan fiction series based on the Twilight Saga. And there's tons of communities online where authors and publishers can test their books and their ideas. Another interesting thing that I've seen indie authors do mostly is they market with blog tours. And blog tours have taken the place of author tours. So instead of author coming up with a schedule and visiting from city to city, they actually arrange blog tours where they'll go from blog to blog, they'll put up a schedule. It's cost-effective online publicity. It generates buzz without having to travel. One of my favorite indie authors, Shelley Johannes, she was actually able to sell 30,000 books in less than 9 months, and she had nearly 60 blog tours participating for her most recent book. An experiment that we did earlier in this year is we wanted to see how it was to create a travel book that had social elements integrated. So what we did is we reached out to dessert bloggers in New York City, and we came up with a dessert guide. We hired editors to vet them, and then we put in hooks to Foursquare, Twitter, Yelp. So as you're reading the book, you can kind of link out and see what it says on Yelp. And then there's also a launchable Google map in there, which people really loved because they would launch it and then they would save it, and then you can find out what dessert is around. Another interesting thing we've seen is Twitter storytelling, where the story kind of just grows based on a hashtag. Books released a book about a year and a half ago called Tweets from Tahrir about the Egypt Revolution and the Arab Uprising. And then also flash fiction is very popular. It's published by Sabrina Ricci, who I think is here today somewhere. And an interesting thing, I've seen a couple authors engage with their audience is through Facebook storytelling, where they'll post an image, they'll post a picture, and someone will start the story and people will continue through the comments. So this was a conversation that we participated in where we were asked to continue story, so it starts, she waited in the shadows, and the next person wrote, she heard a shuffling sound, and then the story just kind of continued, and it made for a really interesting experience, and the author actually added this into the book. So in short, by leveraging communities, you redefine the content creator, you get immediate feedback on your stories, you reach and higher engagement with your target audience, you create community and social elements within the ebooks themselves, which gets people really excited because they're connecting in different ways, and then you stay on the cutting edge of resources. And authors leverage communities selectively. They'll have a specific publishing need, whether it's content creation, cover design, editing, marketing. They'll launch their project into the world. They'll have a specific budget in mind, requires skills and deadlines, and then they'll actually leverage the community members, whether they're vetted professionals or self-selected engaged members. And last slide is just how BiblioCrunch helps you meet those kind of needs, and check us out and see what the buzz is all about. Okay, thank you.